Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Sunday, March 31st. It is Easter Sunday. It is episode 6 of Inside the Huddle. As always, thank you for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe. We've got a lot more content coming your way. A lot to discuss today on the podcast, a couple news topics, and we'll also get into a couple fun topics later on here as we close out March and get into April. Under a month away from the NFL draft, so that's exciting. Off season's flying by. Free agencies kind of, wouldn't say in the rear view, there still is guys out there, but the focus now is really getting on to the NFL draft and what all 32 NFL teams will do. DiMari, a lot to discuss today. How's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty good. First of all, happy Easter. We're gonna have
Yep.
a pretty good show today. And like you said, we're getting close to April. Draft is almost here. So I'm looking forward to the draft. So let's get into it today.
Yep. The draft is exciting, always exciting time, figuring out who's going to go well, this year we kind of know who's going number 1, but figuring out what all 32 teams are going to do. Trades, trade up, trade back. There's always a couple surprises. Who's going to rise up the draft boards? Who's going to be taken early? Who's going to fall? So obviously a lot of things that'll have to play itself out here over the next couple weeks before the 3 nights in the NFL draft. Now, today we got a lot to discuss. We'll get into some of the Jets moves. We'll also get into Dak Prescott. We'll also get into the new NFL rules, a couple rule changes. We'll provide our thoughts on that. But we'll start with the Jets today. And I love starting with the Jets. Anytime we can start with the Jets in a positive way, I am definitely down for it. The New York Jets and Joe Douglas go out and strike a major move, major trade to bring in Haason Reddick to replace Bryce Huff. So basically, the Eagles and the Jets swap pass rushers. Huff, of course, signed a deal with Philly earlier in free agency, really one of the first days, I believe the Monday of free agency, the first wave he signed with Philly. You heard the reports after that Haason Reddick was probably on his way out. I did not think the Jets were going to get him. I knew that he was kind of on the board and there definitely might have been some interest there, but for things to quickly kind of ramp up and gain steam like that, and for what the New York Jets gave up, which was a 2026 conditional third-round pick, in 2 years, that's basically 3 drafts from now. We haven't even hit the 2024 draft, and this is a 2026 pick. That's what I love the most about this deal is we got great value for one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. This is a guy that in the last 4 seasons has had 50.5 sacks, which is 4th in the NFL, only behind TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Trey Hendrickson. So I love this move. From an outside fan perspective, what was your impressions on this move? And obviously no longer with a division rival.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I really kept up much with what he was going to possibly land. I really thought it was Atlanta. I kept seeing a lot of maybe him going there. They striking on another big time free agent to help out Kirk Cousins and rebuild. But as far as the Jets, yeah, I love it. Like you just said, you get rid of one of your better pass rushers, and he moves on. He ends up going to Philly, and now you replace him. And kind of how we talked about last week, where I know you got your mixed feelings about Joe Douglas and his moves, but from outside, I'm looking at they know what team needs they need, and they address them right away. They don't wait around. So with that pickup, that's just more reason for me to think that the Jets are in sole position to win the AFC East this year because Rodgers back, and you're just adding more firepower to a defense that's already top in the league. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that can stop this team, and we've said it on the show, it's the MetLife turf and it's the health of this team.
Yeah.
That's really, it feels like the only thing, because that's basically what stopped them last year with all these injuries. Of course, Aaron Rodgers going down on the MetLife turf 4 snaps into the season. But yeah, this roster, if healthy and playing well and meshing together, is, I think, potentially the defense is without a doubt top 5. They've been top 5, I think, really the past 2 seasons. After a brutal 2021, they were very good in 2022 and very good last year. A big reason why this team was able to muster up 7 wins with the worst quarterback play was because of this defense. Without this defense, we're probably looking at a 4-win team the last 2 seasons. So they've been a big reason for the not as bad season, not the 4-13 disastrous season. They've been able to keep it somewhat competitive. But yeah, I mean, Haason Reddick, I was upset when they lost Bryce Huff, but I actually think in a way, for what the Jets are in now, they are in a win now window. Haason Reddick helps you win now. He fits what the Jets need right now more than Bryce Huff. The long term, Bryce Huff's better for long term because he's younger. He's entering the prime. Haason Reddick is probably more towards the end of his prime. He's going to be 30 in September, but they're in a win now move. They're all in. They're giving up a pick in 2026, which there's a good chance Joe Douglas might not even be here to make that pick if things don't go well this year or next year. So I like that mindset from Douglas going all in. And you needed a replacement for Huff. He's miles better than Jadeveon Clowney. I'm glad that the Jets didn't settle for anybody else. Jadeveon Clowney signed with Carolina, and their next pivot was getting the big fish. And I just have loved that mindset overall from Douglas. There's been a lot of bad. He's done a lot of bad. And the draft still has to come. We have to see. He hasn't done very well drafting outside of 2022. But I like that from Douglas, where he's gone out and got Tyron Smith, the big fish at left tackle, went out and got Haason Reddick. So he hasn't settled for option C, option D, plan B. He's gone out and got some of the top guys at the position. So that I really like. And we talk about the injury concerns, but Haason Reddick has played in 114 of 115 games throughout his career. He's only missed one game. So this is a guy that does a lot on the field, and when he's healthy, he is healthy a lot. I mean, he's only missed one game, so not really a guy that you're too concerned with there. Where do you think this team can rank? Like rosters right now on paper, where do you think they rank? Top 10, top 5? You could probably rank the defense too if you like. How good can this team be if they're healthy?
I'm going to say roster wise, I don't think they're yet cracking the top 10. I'm going to say the top 15 teams. I mean, there's still a lot of question marks at the receiver position outside of Garrett Wilson. I don't think I can name another receiver on the roster. I mean, I believe that Jason Brownlee and Xavier Gibson probably should take another step up this year, get a bigger role in the offense. But just right now, the biggest gap for that team is just at the wide receiver position, which we talked multiple times before. I think they will address that come in the draft, and there's still some names out there that they could sign in free agency. So if I had to really place them anywhere, just looking at the rest of the league, I'm probably going to go somewhere around that 11 or 12. They're just outside of that top 10. And again, once they bring in another guy to help Garrett Wilson and those other two step into their roles more this season, I think they could be a top 10 roster as we get into the season.
Yeah, I still think they'll definitely target a receiver in the draft as a potential wide receiver 3, because you do go on. They did go out and obviously get Mike Williams. So I do believe that you'll probably go potentially Rome Odunze, potentially trade up for Malik Neighbors. But when you look at it now, you got Garrett Wilson, you got Mike Williams. That 3 area, you'd still like to see somebody else, maybe an OBJ, a Tyler Boyd. 4 could potentially, your 4th receiver could potentially be like that rookie that you bring in. So yeah, I agree. There is still some work to do at the receiver, looking, for some more depth pieces there. And then also, I think too, I mean, this is kind of maybe a little bit more nitpicky, but a backup running back. I mean, I know Izzy Abanaconda last year didn't play a ton. He didn't look great, but somebody that can at least a veteran to go behind Brees to take some of the workload off of his hands, I think could also benefit this team. And of course, some more depth at the offensive line. So there still is some more work to do, but all in all, they've fit in a lot of the big, they've gotten a lot of the big pieces. They got Haason Reddick, they brought in Mike Williams, they brought in Tyron Smith, they fixed the offensive line. There still are a couple of those other needs, and I feel like some of those might be addressed more towards, the draft, obviously, potentially a receiver at 10, Brock Bowers. So we'll see, but exciting time to be a Jet fan. Look, everybody talks about the Chiefs going back to back to back. We're on our way to going back to back in the offseason. 3-peat offseason champions. This is what we did. This is our regular season. So this is our time to be excited. This is the offseason.
I mean, yeah, this was quite the move from the Jets this offseason. I was quite surprised. I don't know. Again, the way you talk about Joe Douglas, I'm thinking you're talking about Jerry Jones, but then I see some of the moves that he makes, and I'm just like, well, he doesn't seem like he's all quite that bad. So again, addressing the team needs was huge. So I think it's time you go knock Buffalo off and go win the division. I hope.
I agree. I think this team has got what it takes to knock off Buffalo. We've talked about it a lot. Buffalo's gone worse. Worse. I think that's the way you have to look at this division. It's not so much what the Jets have done, why they've done a lot, but it's also the lack of moves that the other teams have made in the division. Like Miami has missed key pieces. Buffalo downgraded at receiver. Without Michael Hyde, Poyer's gone. Like they missed their 2 safeties. They lost their second receiver, and they brought in somebody that's worse than him. So they've made some head scratching moves. And of course, you have Stephon Diggs' watch is always in full effect because you never truly know what's going to happen with him. Every year, it seems like he's posting something cryptic on Twitter that, kind of gets out there into the NFL universe, and you never truly know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I like where they're at, and hopefully they can continue this the rest of the way. Now, you did mention Jerry Jones. We could transition right into Dak Prescott then and then go over to some of the new rules. I have to ask, what do you think, Jerry Jones? The annual league meetings were this week, and there was a picture of Jerry Jones with a notebook, like scribbling on it. What was that? Was that the script? Was that the NFL script this year? Because if that's the script, we are in for I don't even know what kind of season. Just scribbling.
I think that's what goes through his head when he's doing week 2 press conferences and whatever else. There's literally nothing on that paper. I mean, I wish we could display it here, but it literally looked like you were trying to get your pen to work. You needed to sign something real quick. Your pen wasn't working. I have no idea what Jerry Jones is doing. The front office has no idea what they're doing. And case into the next point, that is why the whole, Dak Prescott letting him play his deal out, where it's talking about this extension for so long. Just they look like deer in headlights every time it comes to free agency and signing big players and contract extensions. So I literally have no idea what they're doing, but I do know I'm on my last little bit of life when it comes to supporting this team. I can't do it. It's not good for the mental health. It's stressing me out.
I feel your pain. Finally, I mean, like I said, this is when all of us Jet fans are happy. Hopefully, the regular season continues that. But yeah, I don't know what he was scribbling at the paper. That was interesting. I mean, if it was the NFL script, I don't even know who he's got coming over with the championship there. I didn't see any logos. I didn't see nothing. It was just scribbles.
Swirls. There's just swirls
Yeah,
and scribbles. That was your doctor's signature when he's like, "Hey,
yeah,
go get your prescription from
yeah.
Walgreens or whatever." That's what that was.
Do you think that's like what he shows? Do you think he hands that to Mike McCarthy and tells him, "Hey, run this play this week"?
I'm thinking that's more of a inside, the war room. Like, hey, this is who we're taking with our first pick.
Yeah,
Whoever I think it's Will McClay, I think his name is, that he's giving the paper to. I have no idea what Jerry has going on.
yeah. So yeah, it's interesting times in Cowboys land. The Dak stuff is obviously interesting. Going to play out his deal. What do you think Dak's future is as a Cowboy? You think this is it?
I hope it's it. And I know we talked about, I think, last show or the show before, just
Yeah.
the fan base doesn't deserve him. And I mean, I know there's been a lot of questions about playoff performances, but just realistically, if we're looking at all 32 starters in the NFL, I don't really think you can name 8 that's better than Dak Prescott. And if you can name 8 that's better than Dak Prescott, none of them you would be able to get into a Cowboys uniform unless they're end of their prime, 35, 36, pushing almost the 40s. So as of now, I'm kind of hoping just he plays out the deal. Of course, I would want an extension for him because I feel like there's going to be a little bit of that Justin Jefferson situation with Kirk Cousins where CD's due for an extension and CD's has some uncertainty. So he's like, look, if Dak's not my quarterback, then I don't see myself playing here, which I could see that playing out because they like to roll the dice and wait till last minute to do things. But I'm hoping we keep Dak. I believe that may be what ends up happening, but just again, how we kind of said, somewhere in the NFL multiverse, Dak Prescott plays out this last year, goes to San Francisco and wins the Super Bowl in his first year there. But other than that, if they don't sign Dak back, it's going to be a long rebuild period for the Cowboys. So buckle up and be ready because it's going to be bad to watch.
Yeah, it's an interesting position with Prescott. Entering his age 31 season, had a massive year this year where he finished third in yards, first in touchdowns, second in QBR. And I agree with your point. There's a lot of people out there. I was debating with some people a couple weeks ago about kind of where Dak is. There's a lot of people that think, Dak is like a fringe top 10 quarterback. And I just disagree. Dak is arguably, you can make a case he's up near the top 5. It's tough,
100%.
especially after last season. It is tough to name 4 or 5 quarterbacks that are better than Dak Prescott. I mean, you have Mahomes, of course, up at the top. CJ Stroud had a very good season. Of course, Lamar took home MVP, but Josh Allen as well is up there. But outside of that, Burrow got hurt you're another one of your kind of elite high-end quarterbacks. Other than that, I mean, I don't think like he's better than Jalen Hurts. He's obviously much better than Tua. Definitely better than Herbert, better than a lot of these other quarterbacks that a lot of people hype up or like to hype up. And that's always been the case. You know, if you're the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, you're going to get a lot more hate than you really do actual love or respect. But I don't think it's crazy to say he's top 5. I mean, it's not. I mean, when you look at the
And
numbers this year, he was top 5 in yards, touchdowns, and QBR. He was actually top 3 because he was in first and second in touchdowns, QBR.
If I'm correct, out of 17 games, 7 of them he didn't even throw a pass in the fourth
Yeah.
quarter, or like the 12-minute mark in the fourth quarter, he didn't throw a pass. But I agree, and this is just non-biased. Like, I think he can be pushing top 5, but like I also like to tell people when it comes to these debates, if he wasn't playing in Dallas and didn't have a star in his helmet, and he was doing this in, like, I don't know, Chicago, and the career went kind of exactly how it was going to a T, everybody would be talking about him being top 5, and I think he would be labeled elite if he did this anywhere but Dallas. And kind of considering some of the pieces throughout his career, which I won't go much into, but just it hasn't been that sense of consistency and discipline every year throughout his career and the team, which is a big part of, when it comes down to the playoffs, why they don't get the job done. But all blame doesn't go down on the quarterback, and playoff wins are a team stat. So, like I just said, if this was anywhere but Dallas, he absolutely would be an elite quarterback and fans would love him. But you're going to get the hate as long as you're playing in Jerry's world.
Yeah, I think exactly. And like the playoff stuff, yeah, he hasn't played great in the playoffs. Of course, winning and losing a team thing, but everybody crushes Dak for that. What about Lamar? Lamar really hasn't done much in the playoffs. And every year this team was a 1 seed. They lost in their home building against Kansas City. Like they should have won that game. This was their year. It should have been their year. They didn't win. Look at Josh Allen all these years. This was his year to take another step and finally beat Mahomes. He hasn't been able to get over it. So there is a lot of quarterbacks. The one quarterback that I'll say out of like Mahomes is in a different category. He's number 1 until somebody wins 3 Super Bowls, really. That's how I view it. Like Mahomes is in, it's like Mahomes and then everybody else. It's really like 1 and then your other tier. That's just the way it is. But your other tier of guys like Josh Allen, Lamar, they haven't gotten into the playoffs. The only really other one that's actually gotten it done in the playoffs and gotten to the Super Bowl was Burrow. Of course, he lost, but like Herbert hasn't sniffed any real playoff stuff. So a lot of these, they blew the game, of course, against Jacksonville. So a lot of these guys that people like to compare Dak against, and they'll say, oh, well, look at Dak's playoffs. Well, yeah, look at Josh Allen's playoffs. Look at Lamar's playoffs. Look at Herbert in the playoffs. Look at, all these other guys. They all have the same problems. And Dak's, I think, actually might be better than them. I mean, statistically, Dak was better than a lot of quarterbacks this year. Like statistically, Dak, like I said, he's number 1 in the NFL in touchdowns. So there's nobody else that topped him from that perspective.
Well, and I'm glad you say statistically because, again, I'm always in debates with people and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what's your reasoning for why Dak is top 5 or top 10 or Dak is better than Herbert or whoever and whoever? And I'm just like, okay, well, here's this, and that. And they was like, okay, well, his numbers aren't great. And then when I go pull up the numbers, it's like, oh, well, stats don't matter. It's about the
Yeah.
playoffs. And I go pull up the playoff stats and
Yep.
compare them. Okay, well, it's because he plays for Dallas. Like
Yeah.
no, just call it for what it is, and you just perfectly said it just now. How you just called it for where it is. I mean, Herbert, you blew a 27-point lead, and people saying, I guess that's another thing for me with Dak. It's kind of quarterbacks often get passes. So Justin Herbert, it's Brandon Staley, he he kind of ruined that, but nobody talks about a Mike McCarthy led team with 14 penalties or
Yep.
a Dan Quinn team Dan Quinn led defense that ran a dime look against 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends, against a run heavy team, and you absolutely got killed. So it's always Dak. Like it always comes down to Dak this, Dak that, Dak this. But for other quarterbacks, it's the coach sucked and his players were hurt and just all the excuses in the world. But if we start calling it for what it is and kind of just tunnel vision on the truth of it, Dak is definitely top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I'm not trying to like put Lamar into a lower pedestal here, but just comparing statistics, Dak was better. Like when you compare him to the MVP last year, Dak was better than him in every category except Dak had 2 more interceptions. So if we want to compare him against some of these high end quarterbacks like Lamar, Dak's right up there. He's knocking on the door right there. It's in Dallas. If you don't win a Super Bowl, you're basically roadkill, I guess, if
I
that's the
mean,
right
I
place.
just
Like,
respectfully too, just going back to how the MVP kind of shaped out. I mean, if we're talking about the thing that was kind of coming up was Dak had too many bad games, and that was what's ruined his
mhm,
MVP chances. So as far as San Francisco, I mean, everybody got punched in the mouth against San Francisco. It's like they play on a different level when it comes to Dallas. Like that's the old rivalry. You're always going to up the game, but and Buffalo as well. You looked at Buffalo game, and I feel like that could have went a little bit of both ways. I mean, you should not lose a game when Josh Allen, I think, only throws for like 6 for 15 for
mhm,
98 yards, but that goes to
yeah.
show you what they were doing running the ball. But I am a firm believer, and I was at this game in person, Dallas and Miami on Christmas Eve. I seen Dak have a great the first drive of the game. Dak is great, hitting on all cylinders. Tony Pollard fumbles on the 1 yard line that changes the whole entire game. But next drive, Dak marches them down the field. They score. I'm not gonna say he struggled throughout the game, but it wasn't from what we were seeing. Where like every time Dallas kind of went out there, you're just like, all right, they're about to go score. So kind of all the odds stacked against Dak. I see him a game-winning drive, march the ball down the field, 4th and goal, throw a fade to Brandon Cooks
Mhm,
against Jalen Ramsey, who is still respectfully one of the best cornerbacks in all of football.
yeah.
That was his legacy right there. And then the defense crumbled and Miami went down the field and ended up winning that game. But I am so solid where if Dallas won that game, and that game winning drive from Dak, he had that in his back pocket, he would have won the MVP this year.
Yeah, exactly. It's and that's the thing too. It's like his season's so under a microscope that if he has one bad game, it's over. Or one game where they should have won and they don't, it's over. So the room for error there too is especially low for Dak as opposed to some of these other quarterbacks where they can get blown out in a game and it doesn't matter. They're still going to go on and be right in the MVP conversation. So, yeah, it's tough. It's a tough spot. And look, I mean, if Dallas loses Dak, I mean, they are going to be a very tough spot, especially let's say they win 11 games this year, go to the playoffs and lose, and then Dak leaves. You don't have a high pick, so you're not going to be. It's not like you're gonna have the cream of the crop at a quarterback where you could take like a Shadur Sanders or somebody coming out next year. um, that would be actually a wild fit. Shadur
It would be
Sanders with
that
Dallas
would
and
be
Deion Sanders, like that would be just
insane.
crazy. The
But
headlines would be wild.
I mean, we've made Dallas in the spotlight all these years,
Mhm.
since then. But now just imagine Shador
Yeah, it'd be nuts.
running down, AT&T Stadium, flexing his
Yep.
Rolex like to the crowd. Like the headlines will be insane. But hear me out. That's what Jerry Jones wants. Like it's all more of showmanship and entertainment. And we kind of talked about this where it's less about football and it's just like, hey, come to Jerry's world and watch the
Yep.
show we got going on. So I would not be surprised if in the future that is a possibility.
Yeah, it's like it's more of like an actual business for Jerry than it is actually about winning in football. Um,
It
but yeah, I mean,
WWE with an helmet
yeah,
on. That's literally all
basically,
it
yeah.
is.
Yeah, Shadur Sanders would be crazy. And then of course with the ties with his dad playing with Dallas Dion, like that would just be it'd be wild. But if he had success there, like let's say that would be they would be the talk of everything. Like that would be crazy. Talk about one of the
Even
biggest.
even more than now. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like the biggest one of the biggest stories in college football going to one of the biggest franchises in all of sports, the biggest franchise, the most talked about franchise in the NFL, plus with his dad and the history there. Like anytime you have somebody that's dad played that was really good that they entered the league, there's always going to be some talk around. And we see it
Yeah.
this year with Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice, obviously. So those guys, whoever they go to, it's of course, can they follow their dad's footsteps?
Mm.
Um, it's going to be that'll be interesting. I don't think it'd happen because he's probably gonna be the number one pick, but I mean Dallas would have to the wheels would have to completely fall off this year for that to happen. I mean, Dak would probably have to get hurt, but which you don't want to see. I'm just saying, like in order for them,
Yeah.
the only way they get the number one pick is if he gets hurt again. You have to roll like Andy Dalton out there again, like a couple years ago. Bring Andy Dalton back. Maybe this is what Jerry
Oh
was
man,
scripting. Was this what he was scripting?
no,
Shador Sanders?
that definitely could be a possibility to where again, Dak goes elsewhere, San Francisco for whatever
Mhm.
reason. You get Shador Sanders, them two meet in the NFC Championship game. That is
Yep.
perfect. You can't draw it up better than that. You can't.
Nope. The scribbles. That we're not even like Jerry is so thinking ahead. That is the 2025 script. That's not even this year's script. Wonder what
He's
he
not
has in
worried
store
about
for
this
this
year's
season.
script.
No,
This year, he's winging it this year. It's
he's
just,
just
hey,
he's
whatever
looking at like a
happens,
6-win
happens.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever happens, happens.
Yep. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting with Dak, but yeah, fun to brainstorm the possibility of if Dak does go elsewhere, who would be quarterback for the Cowboys. It might be that weird like 1 year that they had in between like Romo and Dak where you saw like Kellen Moore out there for a little while. So
Yeah,
that
quite
was
a quite a year.
interesting times. But anyway, the NFL also had some new rules this week. Hip drop tackle and the new kickoff were the two main ones. Um Interesting rules. I'll be honest, I think we're kind of in agreement. I don't mind the kickoff rule. I think it's actually the kickoff was ruined in the NFL. Very rarely did you see return, and very rarely did you see good returns. Every once in a blue moon, you would see somebody take it to the house. Of course, injuries, and half the time, all these calls they would all get called back too for like a block in the back or something like that. So the kickoff in the NFL was kind of broken there for a while. So they changed that. Really go to the XFL kickoff, but then the hip drop tackle is interesting. I don't know. I understand the injuries. I understand there's been some gruesome injuries with the hip drop tackle. I get all that, but I just don't know how you can tell a player going at the speed that these guys go at if they're behind somebody to basically just give up on the play. Like that, I just don't understand. If you're behind the guy and you would have to hip drop tackle him to take him down, basically you're saying you can't do that. You have to give up on the play and stop. That's like flag football. So I don't like that. What was your impressions on some of these new rules?
I do like the kickoff. Absolutely. Again, it was
Yep.
kind of a dead play. It felt more just a change of possession to the point. It was like, hey, just give the opponent the ball at 25-yard line, 30-yard line, whatever the case
Yep.
is. So I do agree with that. Just the hip drop tackle, I think you said it perfectly where it kind of doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's like now if the defender's behind the ball carrier, you're gonna have to wrap him around the waist and just continue to slide all the way down to his ankles or his legs to stop his momentum, which is quite ridiculous because also too, where if you're in that situation and we're talking about a powerful guy like Derrick Henry, I mean, that's not going to stop anybody. But now with this unnecessary roughness and defensive player rule, you can't even have your player coming, kind of finish or clean up the tackle because of all these different rules out. I think the game is getting a little weak. It's becoming like the Pro Bowl format.
Yeah.
Eventually, here we're going to be talking about flag football or two-hand touch because at the end of the day, I mean, it's a very violent sport. That I think that's part of why everybody turns on the TVs on Sunday. They want to see the violence, the
Yep.
physicality, like those 80s and 90s like football hits that you can hear through the TV. Like we're not gonna have that no more. I think obviously, 90s is probably way too far, but the Legion of Boom might be like the last we ever get to see of some real tackle football that how it's supposed to be played. So at the end of the day, kind of how we talked about on air, like if you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get hurt. And I know it sounds crazy to say that. I don't want to sound like heartless or kind of like I don't care about the player safety because like I do. I've played sports myself, but I know what type of physical game it is, and the defensive players obviously don't agree with it, and I'm pretty sure maybe even the offensive players don't agree with it. But the game is definitely getting a little too weak for my liking. And I definitely know for others as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the whole NFL. It's all about the revenue. It's all about star players not getting hurt. They want high scoring games, so people are more involved. But yeah, I mean, I agree. And the action, the big hits. That's why football is the most popular sport and why people talk about it all year round, like we do, is because of all that and because of the excitement. And now it's like they're going backwards. They're kind of like the flag football. Soon we're going to be talking about instead of scouting prospects as to like their tackling ability. It's like we're gonna be asking about their flag grabbing ability. Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be 7-on-7 here, like
yeah,
real quickly. It's starting to get that way.
it that would just be crazy. Like imagine a 7-on-7 flag football Super Bowl. If
I
that
would
would
stop.
ever happen, they better drop the tickets. You can. There's no way I'm paying $1,000 to watch flag football 7-on-7 to decide that. That would be crazy, unbelievable. Like Mahomes wins 10 straight Super Bowls,
Tickets
and
better be
with flag.
$15 if that's the case, and I
Yeah,
probably still want to go. I probably would take those $15 and go to like Red Lobster or something than
yeah,
to go watch a 7-on-7 flag football Super Bowl. Unless
yeah,
Dallas is playing. If they're playing,
yeah,
I'll spend that $15. But other than that, not at all.
yeah. Yeah, I don't love it. It's a violent sport. That's why all these guys want to get paid early on. But that's what you sign up for. Like that when these guys sign up for it, when they get drafted, when they're in the league, injuries happen. It's a part of sports. All sports injury happens. I also would like to see the amount of injuries, and we talked about this a little bit off air. I understand there's a lot of injuries at hip drop tackle, but there was a lot of injuries too, just the non-contact Achilles, ACLs injuries that we saw last year that weren't even contact. So that stuff you can never stop. That's why I think they're like the NFL should focus more on figuring out the non-contact injuries than the hip drop tackle. They should step in and take my point. Like they got to take the turf out of MetLife. Like the turf, no team should have turf. Like they should just end turf and just go all to grass, specifically the MetLife turf. But um, how many like they show all these injuries? How many of the injuries that we saw last year in the NFL were actually due to the hip drop tackle as opposed to soft tissue or other thing or concussions as well? I think they're just making too much out of it. I don't love it. It's
So yeah,
it's a
I'm
violent game.
actually
You can't
like
change it.
I'm writing an article on it, and I started it on Monday, but I'm trying to just get exact numbers as far as roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness. I'm trying to find non-contact, just a few some things like that to just really show the difference between the NFL right now. Because I know the last few years, unnecessary roughness and roughing the passer has been a question mark, I guess you can say, with some of the calls that have been made, and I just seen a few guys. Josh Allen, for example, is the leader in getting
Yeah.
roughing the passer calls for him with his 6'5", 240 frame falling to the ground. Anyways, so I'm just trying to get a kind of a list of what guys, because obviously the star players are going to get the better calls. The players that's affected by it the most, how many times is it getting called, the yardage. Like I'm trying to just calculate all the numbers before I plug into this article because the game is just really getting a little too soft. And again, like you just said, I want to know the exact number of injuries that actually occurred compared to non-contact or like practice injuries, those type of things. I'm really
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up Josh Allen. That guy can make a career on Hollywood or Broadway or something.
Absolutely.
I mean, the amount of times he flops, and then what really gets me is like you'll see people is like he'll get like the one game against the Eagles. I remember Haason Reddick, and I'm not saying this being biased because he's a Jet. I actually I think I tweeted this out during the game. He got like he looked like maybe a horse collar, but they missed the call. And all these people are like, "Oh, Josh Allen doesn't, not getting this call, never gets calls." I'm like, "What? He gets calls all the time." And I
Oh
like
my
it just
god.
it annoys me when something happens to Josh Allen where like he'll take a big hit and people are like, "Oh, how's that? How's that not, um helmet to helmet or how's that not a rough in the pass or whatever?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? The amount of times this guy, you could put a pinky on him and he will fly backwards 5 yards. The amount of calls he gets, he can take a little bit of a beating sometimes. Like I
But
the
you
Josh
know,
Allen stuff. Everybody's like, "Oh, Josh Allen, this and that." I'm like, "What? How? He
mind
gets calls
mind
all the
you,
time."
he is 6'5",
Yep.
245 pounds, and will try to hurdle into the end zone from the five
Yep.
yard line, but a little
Yeah.
bit of too much contact is a problem. But
Yep. He plays a reckless game.
here's my question. I just want to see if we're on the same page here. Who is your NBA comp for Josh Allen? As far as just ridiculous calls, crying to the refs. I want
Ooh.
to see if we're on the same page as that. Because I got my answer. I want to know yours.
I mean, like right off the dome, the most obvious would be like LeBron.
Oh, okay. I
But
wasn't
I,
expecting that one.
I mean, LeBron though. Like LeBron, that's just the NBA though. Like LeBron, I don't know. If you're a star, anybody's gonna get calls. I mean, LeBron gets calls. Giannis gonna get called. I don't know who are you like? Who? Give me a hint. Who are you thinking? Like what team or what? East, West,
West.
West. Hmm. Are they Jokic?
Not Jokic,
Are they
but
good? Is the team good?
playoff team. Very good. At least I mean our opinions could be different on good, but I think right
Well,
now they
yeah.
are
Like, are
definitely
they?
a top 6 seed right now in the West.
So they are. Yeah, they're gonna be playoffs.
They're
Okay.
going to be in the playoffs.
I don't know. Like Luca.
Luca, there we have it.
Luca.
It's Luca. I mean, I love watching Luca's game, but just I feel like sometimes he's like Josh Allen, where you spend more time crying to the refs than you do play, and you get a lot of calls that just should not go your way. It's
Yeah.
definitely Luca. That is my NBA comp for Josh Allen. And again, I
Yeah.
mean, similar frame. I know Luca is probably a little heavier, but we're talking about that 6'5", 6'6" range, somewhere in between there. Bigger body, obviously very strong, very physical, but
Yeah.
please don't let me get a tap on the shoulder or it's over with. That's the two of
Yeah.
them for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see Luca. I agree. Yeah. LeBron was like the one right off the dome. I mean, LeBron's
Bron
gonna be like
slander.
he's one of LeBron
Bron
Sander. Yeah.
slander off the
Le-
dome.
That's oh man, LeBron slander right off the dome. That's funny. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he takes a lot of I mean, he's reckless. One day he's gonna get hurt. And I'm not wishing that on him, but the way he plays, quarterbacks should not play like that.
I,
But
I don't
that's
know.
not
And
what he
I
does.
mean, like RG3, even though he had some injuries, but even Lamar kind of within the first few years, it's just like you need to get down, and you're such an idiot, and you're just running around the field. You're not gonna have a long career. Anthony Richardson this year, like you're
Yeah.
not gonna play too long because this and that. And Josh Allen is hurdling defenders and dropping his shoulder, and everyone just loves it. Everyone's, oh, Josh Allen, what a play! Like, where's that same energy for
Yeah.
Lamar and Anthony Richardson? And even I think Baker Mayfield got a little bit of it, kind of,
Yeah.
with Cleveland, where everyone's kind of questioning his decision
Mhm.
making, but let Josh Allen do it, and we love it.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. Um, so a couple topics here. Well, I guess we can get into the Rashid Rice stuff as well if you want to. We could get into that. And then also um get into some stuff on the jerseys. And we also I know it's kind of the end of the March. Elite Eight continues today. UConn is demolishing every team they face. I saw
I
them in
was
person last week. They are unbelievable. I mean, they win every game by 20 plus. But we're also have an NFL March Madness bracket that we'll reveal here in a little bit. So we'll kind of combine these two topics here. Some incident with Rashid Rice, an accident in Dallas, and then also some new jerseys that could be releasing the NFL. What was your thoughts on the Rashid Rice incident, and then also some of the jersey stuff?
keep it brief and simple. I hope everyone involved is okay with
Yep.
the accident. Street racing with a friend of his, I'm assuming it's just stupid, it's reckless, and I
Yep.
hate to kind of bring it up because it's an insensitive topic, but just had the incident with Henry Ruggs a few years ago, and it's just kind of like players don't learn. You get in a situation where you are, I don't say a person of power, but Rashid Rice, you're an up and coming star. Like, you know, people are starting to love you. You are starting to become a vital part of Chiefs Kingdom, and you obviously, I don't think his career is ruined. I mean, they kind of get away with a lot of things, a lot of others won't. But
Yep.
just putting people's life in jeopardy, street racing is absolutely ridiculous. So I hope he does serve a nice long suspension this year. I mean, if Calvin Ridley got a year for gambling, I think he needs a year for speed racing, especially with how Henry Ruggs' situation ended up. It's stupid. It's the off season. Like, workout. You can still have fun at the end of the day. Like you
Yep.
are still a human being with a life. You're not a football player at the end of the day. But work out, get ready for next season, spend time with the family, just debrief from the stress and weight of football season for once. But you do that by street racing and putting people's life in danger. It's ridiculous. Absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully everybody's okay. course, more information still coming out, but yeah, the Henry Ruggs situation, of course, that ended his career. Very talented player, ends his career early. Of course, too, you had, um, unfortunately, the Dwayne Haskins incident where,
Yeah.
on the side of a highway, which, of course, was caused by somebody else that was speeding. So driving fast, speeding especially when you're in the NFL, it's not smart. And for a guy that young, similar to Henry Ruggs, to kind of put your career aside and forget about, we just won a Super Bowl, now has Hollywood Brown alongside him, rising star, could potentially kind of be the next, number one guy for Mahomes in Kansas City. And then you do this is not smart. And
Yeah.
it's something that hopefully he'll learn from, um, move on from. But yeah, it's, you see this happen often with NFL guys. And yeah, I agree. I mean, if Calvin Ridley gets a year if this all comes back to be true and it was Rashee Rice, because again, there still is more investigating, but
Mhm.
if he gets a year, you think Rashee Rice is going to get a lengthy suspension because Ridley got a year and he was gambling. But I think, I don't know, I mean, not to compare the two, they're both very bad, but driving and risking somebody's life over placing a bet on a football game is probably worse, but we'll see.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, some uniform stuff. Broncos getting new unis. Looks like Texans as well. Jets are getting new ones as well, although I think we kind of already got a preview for what they are. They're just going to get a green and probably black ones this year. But what are your thoughts on the era we are in right now on like unis?
This is quite funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday about unis. I just think every throwback that was released this year needs to go back to the full time uniforms. I mean, I love
Yeah.
Seattle's. I love Tampa's. I don't know if Tennessee and Houston are still in the tug of war between who gets the Oiler uniforms, but I
Yeah.
loved all of them. So I'm kind of wishing everybody goes back to whenever like that era of uniforms. Dallas, bring back the stars on the shoulder pads. Just uniforms now were kind of terrible. Top of my head, I can't really think of a team where I just absolutely.
Not
Maybe
the
the
Jets.
Chargers. No, the Jets are
The
awful. I
Jets.
mean, I hate the Jets uniforms so much.
They're
I'm
awful.
sorry.
It's also because
Just
they've done so much losing in them that I can't take it. They got him the year Gaze took over. That was just a kiss of death right away. It's like the amount of
and,
losing we've seen in those stupid uniforms. I can't wait till they're gone.
and I like the white stripe, like
Yeah.
the old I'm gonna call them the Mark Sanchez jersey, even though they were way before
Yep.
Mark Sanchez. But
Yeah.
I love those with the white helmet. And I think a lot of that was sorry to bring up bad memory, but make Jamal Adams made those jerseys look cool with the double white wristbands,
Yeah.
black visor, like that was top tier Jets uniform. And I wish they would never have left those uniforms, kind of in the past. But uniforms are Nike sucks when it comes to uniforms. Like they are absolutely terrible. So hopefully these new changes, we kind of already seen a preview of Houston's, which it's pretty great. They got the horns coming off the side of the shoulder pads. Absolutely fumbled with the opportunity to put the horns on the helmet going back and to kind of change the color of that. That was their opportunity to do it. Didn't do it. But Nike needs to just give it up, man. I don't know. You look at Oregon and you kind of see everything Oregon got, and you're just like Nike. And then you look at the NFL and you're just like, this isn't the same Nike that Oregon's using. Like it
Yeah.
can't be. Or yeah, uniforms are kind of bad, very
Yeah,
bad.
they make a point about that. Like Nike with Oregon and stuff, those uniforms are great. But then the NFL, yeah. We're kind of living in a very boring era of uniforms right now.
Yeah,
Um, but those Oilers, I'm glad you brought up those Oilers uniforms were so nice last year.
yeah,
Unfortunately, I don't know what the Titans are going to do this season, but at least they're going to lose looking good. If you're going to go down, might as well go down in fashion. Those are nice. I love the Jets throwbacks as well. I might be biased, but I really do like those. Um, the throwbacks are awesome. Again, the Bucks, those kind of creamsicle ones, those are cool as well. It's like the uniforms now, like they're kind of it's just a little bit of a boring era in all sports too. Like even you look at some of these NBA uniforms are some of them are kind of interesting. You even
yeah.
look at
That's you know,
it's
and
MLB as
even
well. They botched them this year, but
yesterday, like talking to my friend yesterday, we talked about NFL and NBA jerseys as well. Like I know Utah did it somewhat, and they brought back like the purple with the mountains in the back, like those
Yeah.
were top tier. Atlanta with the big hawk on the middle of the jersey. Miami, who wore their classic last year. You can even go to Floridian with the pink orange. Like those were
Mhm.
top tier uniforms, and now everybody's kind of just so basic. I makes me want to throw up every time I seen 5280 on Denver's
Yeah.
jerseys. I don't know what's going on, but we are way past the era of great uniforms, and I don't think it's coming back. I really don't.
Yeah, I thought like kind of a like this is like they're reviving it a little bit, bringing back the old school. The one of the errors though that I did like the NFL did, and I thought it might was kind of them trying to make a comeback was the color rush era. The color rush
Uh,
uniforms. See, I
that was
like
hit or
those.
miss.
See, I mean, some of them I guess were all right. I mean, I like the Jets ones. Like the Cardinals, I thought were really cool. Um, I thought the Jags were solid. I thought Dallas was nice, the all white
I did like Dallas. I mean, the Jags is the one that instantly just makes me want to throw up in my mouth. That mustard
Jags.
looking,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hated it.
You know the Titans were pretty cool. They're like the powder blue.
Yeah, theirs was nice. I like Buffalo's, that brighter shade of
Yeah, the
red.
red. That Buffalo game, the Jets Bills, when it was all red and all green, that was a really cool jersey game. I
Yeah,
like the Jets ones. The Bucks were pretty cool all red. The Rams had the all yellow. They were all right.
Chargers pretty nice.
The Dolphins were kind of weird. They were like that all orange. I don't know why they did that. They should have been like all teal. I mean, orange is kind of like their secondary color. The Broncos were pretty cool. I think they were all orange. Um, I don't know. I thought I liked the color. I like the color rush era, at least
Now
from
I'm
the
kind of,
Jets. But
I'm kind of going back through, and some of these don't look. They look a lot better than I remember. I mean, I'm looking at like I see
yeah,
Baltimore's here, where you got all purple when you go with your secondary gold inside the numbers, but then you look at like Green Bay's, which looks like a basic. They just go white on white, just any given game. The Saints
yeah,
were actually nice. I love the Saints. So yeah, they weren't too bad. I guess it was just kind of a hit or miss, but a lot of them were hits. But like I said, Jacksonville, Green Bay, Miami, a few of them were just don't ever wear those again.
yeah, yeah. And then you kind of got on the comebacks too a little bit. Like I thought Seattle's was pretty nice, but then you have the comebacks where you have like the all white Cincinnati's all white. Um, you still have some teams that kind of have some sort of version of the color rush a little bit, but um, yeah, I mean, the color rush era, I know was watching the games, it was kind of interesting, I guess, a little sometimes. Um, it was kind of boring just looking at it. The Bears, they were literally their uniforms,
So
the
simple.
same uniforms, except blue pants.
I think I would have
That
went
was
all orange if I was Chicago,
yeah,
because
all
why
orange.
not? Or I would have probably went
Yeah,
all white with the throwback blue helmet with the bold white C like in
yeah.
the sticker. That's probably what I would have done.
Same thing with the Chiefs. They were all red.
Yeah, that
Oh, they
was
can't really do anything else.
yeah, they are a team whose uniforms are just have always kind of just been boring, plain.
Yeah, yeah. It was the Thursday night games. It's the only Thursday night they wore them. I remember.
Yep, Chiefs, Rams.
The Cardinals and the Niners were cool. They were all black. I
Yeah,
like those.
you never
But
go wrong with all black. And then looking at Detroit's all black, you throwing that Hawaiian blue color rush.
yep.
Yeah, color rush wasn't too bad.
Oh man, the Redskins were awful.
Yeah, all mustard yellow. That's even
Yeah.
worse than mustard yellow. Those are pretty bad.
The Ravens were pretty cool with the purple. There's a couple good ones. Saints were solid. I think they still kind of wear those. Titans were cool. Jags. Jags were Jags were interesting. So anyway, interesting uniform stuff. But yeah, the throwbacks are cool. I enjoy them. Now to the March Madness bracket here. So we got a bracket with 32 teams, which works perfectly. 16 on each side. We did one side AFC, one side NFC. I split it up in, I guess, 4 sections, 2 sections on each side. So there's a 1 seed, an 8 seed, a 4-5, a 3-6, a 2-7. And then there's obviously a 1-8, 4-5, 3-6, 2-7 on each side. So it's almost like a March Madness. It's basically like the second round of the March Madness because it's basically the round of 32. the way we set up the seeding is the 1 seeds are the AFC and NFC champions, or I apologize. The 1 seeds are the teams that were in the AFC and NFC championship games last year. So the Chiefs are a 1 seed, the Niners are a 1 seed, the Ravens are a 1 seed, and then the Lions are a 1 seed. And then based off of that, the standings, your 8 seeds, your last seeds are the 4 worst teams, or the 2 worst teams in each AFC and NFC. So for the AFC, it's the Patriots and the Chargers, and in the NFC, it's the Panthers and the Cardinals. So we're going to go through this. Basically, we're going to pick a team. Each of us will have a pick. If one of us picks one team and another picks another team, then we're going to go to a coin flip, which might make this thing crazy. So, I might pick some upsets. It's the March Madness. There's always upsets. So there might be some picks that you see on here that we take a team over somebody and you're like, that would not actually happen. But, it's upsets. It's March. So also, on top of that, actually, no, I don't think I have anything more else to say. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is the teams, we're basing this off of what teams have done so far this offseason. So, we're not basing this off of last season. This is basically what teams have done this offseason. So, like the Falcons, teams like the Falcons, of course, the Jets made a lot of moves. And the Bears, of course, made a lot of moves. Those teams you might see make a run. This is not based off of the seeding's based off of last year, but the way we're picking is based off of what teams have done so far this season. So I guess we can begin. The first matchup is on the left side. We'll start always on the left side of the bracket. In the AFC, Chiefs, Patriots, 1 seed Chiefs, 8 seed Patriots. We could probably both agree we're probably both taking the Chiefs here.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll take the Chiefs. So they move on. Okay, so the next thing, Steelers, Colts. 4 seed Steelers, 5 seed Colts.
I don't think it's much of an upset, but I'm going with the Colts on this one.
I'm going to go with the Colts. I feel like I want to go Steelers, but I'll go Colts too. Because why not? Anthony Richardson will go with the Colts over Russell Wilson. Dolphins, Broncos. Probably pretty obvious.
Yeah. Another
Dolphins.
70 piece for Miami.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I didn't even think of that when I was doing the bracket. Yeah, 70 piece. Maybe they'll put up 100 here. Bills, Titans.
Whew.
Ooh.
Wow. I'm gonna go with Tennessee in the upset.
Really? Going with the early upset here.
Early upset.
I'm gonna go Bills. So we'll go to the coin flip now, which is where things might get really crazy. So heads will be the higher seed. So if it lands on heads, it's the Bills. If it lands on tails, it's the Titans. It's an online coin. Let's flip it. Flipping it right now. And it's heads. So the Bills move on, unfortunately.
By a last-minute field goal.
By a last-minute field goal. I don't know, though. The Bills, I feel like they would shank that probably.
They wide left, they just might.
It's definitely possible. All right, Ravens, Chargers. It's pretty obvious, Ravens.
Pretty obvious, yeah.
Bengals, Jaguars. Ooh, this is a good one. Actually,
You lose Ridley, you do get Gabe Davis.
Bengals, they lose Higgins, Boyd. Well, they didn't lose Higgins, but he requested a trade.
Possibly lose Higgins. Mixon is out. You don't really have a solid running back. You do get some safeties back for Cincinnati. Ooh, that's tough. I think I'm going to go, I guess, Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bengals as well. I still think Joe Burrow's he'll outplay.
Yeah. That one's kind of tough, though. I feel like that's like that 8-9 matchup we often see in the March Madness brackets and go either way.
Yep, no doubt about that. Texans, Raiders.
Texans.
I'm going to go Texans, but I could see this. I don't know. I'll go Texans, but if the Raiders had a quarterback, I'm Gardner Minshew. I would not be shocked if the Raiders would pull off an upset, but I'll go Texans as well. Browns, Jets. You know what I'm going? I'm going to Jets.
That's tough. I
7-2
mean,
upset. We're taking the Jets all
I
day.
guess a little bit of spoiler of my AFC, my playoff bracket that I was telling you about. I had the Jets going to the AFC Championship, so
Jets.
I'm gonna take the Jets.
Let's go. Jets moving on. So we get a 7 seed moving on. So that was the highest seed. So the highest seed we had moving on was the Jets. Both 1 seeds moved on, so we did not get a crazy upset. Not that that's too surprising. All right, now I move to the NFC, the right side of the bracket. 49ers, Panthers. Taking Carolina here. I'm just kidding. Taking San Francisco. I want to take Carolina so badly, but I'm not going to.
There's no world where that's possibly happening.
Yep. So we'll take 49ers. Packers, Vikings. Taking the Packers.
Yeah, we can say the Packers on that one.
All right. I could see the Packers here potentially making a run. We'll see. All right. This is a good one. This is one of this matchup. When I wrote this down, I was this good matchup. Rams, Falcons.
You know where I'm at with that one.
Falcons.
I love Kirk Cousins. I'm going with the Falcons.
Yeah. I'll go Falcons as well. Like what Kirk Cousins, obviously they brought him in. Of course, already have Bijan Robinson, got some weapons. The Rams still have weapons. You got Puka Nacua, but yeah, I like the
Sean
Falcons. I
McVay. I
like
mean,
the 6-3 upset here.
it's hard to pick against Sean McVay. Like it really
Yeah.
is. But give me Kirk.
Yep. Cowboys, Commanders.
Who's the quarterback of the Commanders in question? Is this possibly
Ooh.
Drake May?
Yeah, let's just say it's Drake May.
Give me the Commanders.
Commanders. All right, I'm still gonna take the Cowboys. So we'll go heads Cowboys, tails Commanders for a Commanders upset over the Cowboys. Tails. Commanders actually upset the Cowboys.
Jerry got the script. I got the script. That was the scribbles.
Is that the as they are they on their way to the number 1 pick with that?
Poverty Bowl. Absolutely. Just those two.
All right, the other 1 seed, Lions, Cardinals. You know what's crazy about this is if the Lions legitimately went out and let's just say they got like Mike Evans or something, I might actually take the Cardinals just because the upset, but I'm still going to take the Lions. Yeah, I'm taking the Lions. You got the Lions as well?
I'm going to say the Lions, but I can't remember much. Well, no, the Cardinals kind of lost a lot. Yeah, I don't see that
Yeah.
happening.
I think though, out of all the upsets, this would probably be the most. I don't know. Out of all the 1 to 8 matchups, I feel like this would probably be the most realistic. Not because of the Lions. It's just I think the Cardinals are better than Carolina, the Chargers, and the Patriots.
Yeah,
I don't know
100%.
though. Yeah, it's probably the case. All right, Seahawks, Saints.
Both of them are pretty bad. It seems like.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Seahawks as well. Saints they gotta just rebuild. They're trying to win with like scotch tape and glue.
Yeah,
The
they're
Bucks
pretty
and
bad.
the Bucks and the Bears. This is a good one.
Ooh, wow.
If it was
Um,
Justin Fields, I'd take the Bears. I'm gonna
but
I'm gonna go I'm gonna go upset. I'm gonna take the Bears only because I like the Bucks, but I don't know if they can fully repeat it. I'm gonna take the Bears here.
I agree. I would. I'm also taking the Bears.
I'm gonna go with the Bears here. Give me the Bears with an upset. All right, Eagles, Giants. Eagles, most
Absolutely.
likely. Yep. All right, so that is your NFC. Highest seed to advance was the Commanders, also a 7 seed, defeating the Cowboys, which was a little bit of a shock. Now we move on here. Chiefs, Colts.
I'm taking Colts on the upset.
You're going to take the Colts? Wow.
I
I'm
am.
still going to take the Chiefs. So we'll go to a coin flip here. Chiefs will be heads. Colts will be tails because the Colts are the lower seed. Let's flip it and see. It lands on tails. Colts beat the Chiefs.
Anthony Richardson. There
Anthony
we go.
Richardson knocks off Kansas City. All right. Dolphins, Bills. This is a tough one.
That's tough.
Neither team, well, the Bills barely got past their first round matchup. We had to go to a coin flip. Dolphins crushed the Broncos 100-10. So I'm gonna still go with Buffalo here, just because
Ye-
Dolphins always choke.
Yeah, I'm saying I think this is the week where they kind of trading away their whole defense catches up with them. I'll take the Bills.
Take the Bills. All right, Ravens Bengals.
I like how
We
we're
had this
getting
discussion
actually
last
like
week.
in division, like divisional
Yeah,
matchups. I like that. Oh, I mean, like we said last week, Baltimore they have a big question mark at the receiver position,
yeah.
but
So the Bengals,
Cincinnati,
that number
yeah.
2. It's tough. We had this discussion last week about like the AFC North and how it looks.
I mean, that Ravens defense though.
They are good, very good.
Derrick Henry. I'm gonna have to go with the Ravens.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. I don't know. I want to go Bengals. I'll go Ravens as well. They've done a lot more. If we're basing it off of this offseason, which we are, they've done a lot more than
Yeah.
Cincinnati's lost Mixon. They're losing Boyd. Higgins requested a trade. Baltimore brought back Justin Matabuke. They brought in Derrick Henry. So they've done a lot more than Cincy. So we'll go Ravens. Texans, Jets.
Ooh.
I'm going with the Jets. I have to. I've got to go with the Jets. They beat the Texans last year
Oh,
with Zach
that's
Wilson.
tough.
So
They did.
plus what they've done in the offseason. Biased, I'm going with the Jets here.
But I mean, we're throwing Mixon in that mix there, and we're getting receivers back for Houston. Dalton Schultz is back. I love the uniforms. I'm going Houston. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go
All
Houston.
right. Coin flip it is. So Texans will be heads, Jets will be tails because they're the lower seed. Let's see. Heads. Texans move on. So the Jets are a second round exit. That is unfortunate, but I'm used to it. Not really. Not used to them even making the playoffs. They probably if the NFL did a 32 team March Madness, the Jets would probably be left out. Be a 31 team March Madness. All right,
We'll be right with you.
49ers. Yep. 49ers Packers. This is good.
Wow.
Lost Aaron Jones, brought in why is his name not coming to me? Josh Jacobs.
Yep. Yep.
Niners, you got some of the Ayuk stuff.
I
Let's see.
mean, I'm going with the Niners. I still believe.
We're going with the Niners.
I
I'm
just
gonna
feel like last year was still kind of a
mhm.
fluke for Green Bay. Give me the Niners.
I'm gonna take a upset pick here. I'm gonna go Packers. I'm gonna go Packers. They almost beat them last year. They brought in some more pieces. I'm gonna go Green Bay. So Niners will be heads, Green Bay will be tails.
I hate both, so it's a lose either way.
It's tails. Packers move on.
Okay, Jordan Love. I guess you weren't as fluky as you were last year.
According to the coin flip. All right, Falcons Commanders. Then a 6-7 matchup in the second round.
Is this a Kirk Cousins return to Washington, or is this
Yeah.
Washington going to Atlanta?
Why not? Kirk Cousins returning to Washington.
I mean, we all know the famous "you
Yeah.
like that." Give
Yeah,
me.
that's
I'm
true.
gonna go with the Falcons again, though.
Taking the Falcons. All right, we'll go with the Falcons. I agree. I went with I didn't even think the Commanders were going to get past round 1, so I'm going to definitely go with the Falcons here. Lions Seahawks. The Lions have such an easy path here, I believe. I mean, they had
The
to face
Lions
New
are
Orleans or Seattle.
yeah. I mean, they seem like they're this year's version of like Purdue. Give me the
Yeah.
Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions as well. And then finally at the bottom here, Bears Eagles.
Ooh, I mean, DeAndre Swift gets a little bit of revenge against Philly.
Yep.
Give me the Bears.
I'm going to take the Bears as well. I'm going to go Bears here. So we got the highest seed here left is the 6-seeded Bears and the 6-seeded Falcons. So the NFC is definitely a little bit more crazier than the AFC. No 1 seeds are left. Actually, no. 1 seed. No, 2 1 seeds are left. Kansas City got knocked out. San Francisco got knocked out. Now we move on here to the Elite 8. Colts, Bills.
I'm still rocking with the Colts.
I'm gonna go with the Colts. Why not? I'll go with the Colts as well. Colts going to the Final Four was not something I expected, but here we are. Colts in the Final Four. Ravens, Texans. They just played each other. Ravens beat the Texans, but off season, Ravens have done some good things. I'm going to take Texans. I'm going to go with the Texans.
I agree. I'm going to take the Texans with you.
Texans. All right. In division, Colts, Texans in the Final Four. All
Who
right.
would have thought?
Packers, Falcons. This is a good one.
That is a
The
very good one.
4-seeded Packers and the 6-seed Falcons. I'm going to go Packers. End of the road for Kirk Cousins. For me.
Not so fast. Give me
Not so
Atlanta
fast.
again.
Give me Atlanta. All right. So heads will be Packers. Tails will be Falcons because Packers are the higher seed. Let's see what it does. Heads it is. Packers move on.
Kirk, you're killing me.
All right. Packers are 2-0 on the coin toss here. I mean, that's interesting. Lions, Bears, AFC, NFC North. We're going to get an NFC North final. We're going to get 2 division matchups final. 4. You got Colts, Texans, and Packers versus either Lions or the Bears. Just shows you how good the NFC North is going to be this year.
I mean, we've been saying that for quite a while now.
This is tough. Lions, Bears.
I mean, I'm just looking at. I feel like the Lions haven't really added much, but they were so complete last year.
Yeah.
But you do
I
lose
like
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
I like the Carlton Davis edition, and they also
Yeah.
added DJ Reader, which I like. But
Oh yes, they did add DJ Reader. I mean, the offense I felt was so good where
yeah,
you kind of I think they just lost Josh Reynolds though, if I'm correct, who is
Mhm.
a very good wide receiver 3. But I mean, something about Caleb Williams at USC when the lights got too bright, you know. I think I'm gonna go with the Lions.
yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions as well. I could go with the Bears and really make this dramatic and go back to the coin flip, but we'll go with the Lions here. So only one seed left, and that's the Detroit Lions. So your final 4 is set: Colts, Texans.
Well,
5 seed versus a 3 seed. And then in the NFC, it's a 4 seed versus a 1 seed.
I don't know. I'm just really hopping on the Texans bandwagon here, I guess, for this season. I'm gonna go with the Texans again.
I'm gonna go with the Texans as well. So we got Texans versus Packers, Lions.
I'm going with the Lions. There's really no lifetime of mine. I want to see Green Bay happy and successful.
Yeah. I want to go with the Lions, but
Flip the coin.
I feel like the Packers are just
Dramatics.
gonna, go for the dramatic. Let's take the Packers. All right. So Lions will be the heads, Packers will be tails. Packers is 2-0 with the coin. Let's see what they do here. It is tails. Packers move on. Oh my God.
Oh, Green Bay, look at you.
No way Green Bay just went 3-0 again on the coin flip.
To
So
losing the
Packers,
Natty.
Texans final.
Still with Houston.
Yeah, I think I
think we got to flip the coin. I
Flip the
think we
coin?
flip the coin.
Flip the coin. All right. So I'll go. I'm just saying, I would go with the Texans here, but for dramatic reason, we're going to flip the coin.
So we both have Houston as our winner. But
Yeah, we
for the
both
sake
think
of it,
Houston.
we're just going to flip the coin.
Yeah, but for the sake of it, we're just going to flip the coin. And why not? We'll just make that the actual champion.
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we have 2 champions. Either way, why not? So the heads will be the Texans. Tails will be the Packers. Packers are 3-0 with the coin. All of their matchups have been decided by the coin, except the first round. I don't think it's going to be the Packers. We'll flip it. It's been tails like 3 times in a row.
I'm taking the
heads. Texans win.
Texans
move on anyway. So your NFL March Madness champion is the Texans, which, as crazy as this bracket got with some of the coin flips, it's not crazy to say that the Texans could actually win a Super Bowl next year. So not as crazy, but I think the biggest surprise was the Colts going to the Final Four.
Absolutely. We didn't see it happen. They were like last year's FAU team. just out of
Yep.
nowhere.
Bears going to the Elite Eight was probably something I did not expect. Falcons going to the Elite Eight was not too surprising. The Jets being a second round knockout hurts. Unfortunately, the coin was not on the Jets side. Cowboys getting bounced in the first round was wild.
That is the way of life. I've seen it a
Yeah.
little too often, so it doesn't come by. It's not a shock to me.
That Seahawks Saints matchup might have been the most irrelevant matchup of the entire bracket.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those ones where
It's
games
like,
just on TV, but you want to take a nap or you want to clean
yeah,
the house. So that's background noise.
yeah. It was like whoever won that matchup, was having to play. It was like Wagner winning the first four. You knew it was over because they had to go play UConn. That was basically what this matchup was. It was like you knew it was over because they had to play Detroit. So your final four was Colts, Texans. Texans moved on. Packers, Lions. Packers moved on. And in the champion, through the coin flip and through our actual opinion, was the Texans. So it basically confirms we know the script Texans are winning it all next year because the coin flip and our opinion were on. So
Hop
that
on the
is your
bandwagon.
NFL March Madness bracket. I feel like we should do this another time with like worst teams. Who's the worst team? It'd probably be like the Panthers, but
I mean, there might, yeah, the Panthers might be a clear favorite to win that one, but things definitely can change.
yeah, no doubt about it. So, any other closing thoughts here as we wrap up our March podcast before April begins next week or
Well,
tomorrow,
talking
actually?
about March Madness, I think the first game comes on at 2:20 today, if
Yeah.
I'm correct. So let's kind of steer from some football over to basketball. Tennessee's the only team I have left remaining in my bracket because everybody else, Houston let me down, Marquette let me down. So go Vols, I guess. Thanks for making it happen for me.
Yeah,
Hopefully they win today.
my bracket is cooked.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, if you wanted to know if it feels any better, I had Auburn going to the Natty and losing to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn loses in the first round. Houston, even though that game, some injuries kind of changed the course of that game, but my bracket was cooked from the beginning.
Yeah, my bracket was not necessarily in a good spot either. So now the one bracket though that is not cooked is the bracket that we've got right here. And that is our March Madness bracket here. Texans
Copy it,
taking it all the way.
laminate it, and
Laminate
hang
it,
it
put it
up
up.
so we can
We're
go
gonna see
back
this
to it
next
next
year.
season.
Texans, we know the script. They're winning it all. Congrats, Texans fans. Plan the parade. We know the script. All right. We'll see you next week. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.